Hello there, good people. I'm Rob Shaw here to talk a little fantasy football. It's a Shaw thing, and we're going to concentrate on 3 players moving up and 3 players moving in the wrong direction. We'll start off with the good news first, and that comes from the quarterback position in New England. Once again, a replacement quarterback doing quite well. His name is Matt Cassel. We all know about him by now. The numbers have simply been astounding. Look over the last 3 games, 8 touchdowns compared to just 1 interception. This is something no one saw coming. This is the same guy who has not started a game since high school. Of course, he didn't start at USC either. So that being said, what to make of this guy? Well, obviously he's great this season. By now, someone obviously already has him on the team. They either probably won the championship or contended thanks to him. But what about next year and the future? That's going to be up in the air. This is a guy who clearly has proven capable of starting for an NFL franchise and winning for an NFL franchise. You know, maybe I'm just thinking a little optimistically here. I don't think there's any way the Patriots will allow it, but there is a team in New York that has an old quarterback who might leave after a year. Who knows? Maybe Matt Cassel would like to start for the New York Jets. I doubt he'll have that opportunity, but he clearly will start somewhere. That is a guy to certainly keep an eye on. As far as a quarterback moving in the wrong direction, I love the guy. I had him in all my fantasy leagues, which explains why I'm already out for the year. His name is Kurt Warner of the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, he's had his glory days in the past with the St. Louis Rams, had some great numbers early in the season, but that might be the worst game I've ever seen. Of course, it came against Matt Cassel and the Patriots. 6 for 18 for just 30 passing yards. Not a touchdown nor an interception. I guess that's the good news. As far as the week before, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The week before, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Now, the Cardinals did know they were going to be in the playoffs even with a loss in that game. Anquan Boldin didn't play, but there's no excuse for going 6 for 18. The last 3 performances are very concerning for the Cardinals. Keep an eye on what's going to happen here with Kurt Warner. Who knows, maybe by next year, Matt Leinart will be taking the snaps. Next up at the running back position, this is a pure surprise considering he got cut by the Bears, but what a game for Cedric Benson. 38 carries, which is a huge amount. 171 rushing yards. It was just a great performance from him. The week before, he had over 160 total yards of offense as well. Remember, the potential is there. He was drafted with the 4th pick overall out of Texas just a couple of years ago. So he's got the potential, which begs the question, what happens for Cincinnati during this offseason? My guess, they'll try to grab a running back from the NFL draft, but there is a good chance that Cedric Benson will get a chance to start next year as well for the Bengals. So far, doing very well recently. As far as a running back moving in the wrong direction, I don't think we'll ever see him start again. Selvin Young of the Denver Broncos. This past week's performance, 7 carries, 16 yards. That's 2.3 yards per carry. Last week, it wasn't any better as you combine the last 3 games, really. 14 carries for 37 yards. Those numbers are abysmal. Selvin Young has been injury-prone this season, but we've seen better things out of Peyton Hillis and Ryan Torain, both who will be healthy and expected back next season. In fact, I say Ryan Torain will have a huge year for the Broncos next year as their starting running back. The glory days for Selvin Young, even though there were none, are clearly in the past. Next up from the wide receiver position, some good news for the Tennessee Titans. Justin Gage is a star. We know that. The problem is similar to Deion Branch, he just is injury prone. Well, once again, he's enjoying a great second half of the season. This past weekend, a couple of receptions for over 100 receiving yards. He has 6 touchdowns, which is a great number, 5 of which have come in the last 7 games. Huge performance in the second half of this year. Just like last year, he's going to end up with over 500 receiving yards in the second half of the season. Do the math. He is certainly capable of over 1,000 receiving yards. This is one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. Keep an eye on him to be a good player to grab in the middle rounds of fantasy leagues next season. As far as a guy moving in the wrong direction, Roy Williams. Here is a guy who was a top 10 wide receiver just a couple of years ago. Sure, he's had his injuries, but that trade from Detroit to Dallas, who would have thunk it, but has certainly killed his fantasy value. This is a guy who barely touches the ball, gets barely 20 receiving yards per game. The guy has nothing on Patrick Creighton. I don't see him once again ever having the fantasy value that he once enjoyed. He's a middle-of-the-road receiver, probably a 2nd or 3rd option. That's clearly the case this season. The best days for Roy Williams, clearly once again in the past. Well, my friends, those are a couple of fantasy players to keep your eyes on for now. If you have any questions, email us, fantasy@opensports.com.
So you think you can tackle a pro? There's only one way to find out. Click on fantasy@opensports.com.